When's Badgerland?
Badgerland's like the first week of May, like May 1st to the 5th.
Oh, that's coming up quick then.
Yeah, like 40
Hey, you better be
days.
at the fucking mic.
Especially since I'm having a kid soon too, so I'm gonna be
Yeah. When's the due date on that?
April 18th, but
April 18th.
probably sooner than that though. To be honest.
Yeah.
So we're
Because it's
starting now, obviously.
Technically the fourth one.
Yeah.
Usually each kid comes a little bit sooner.
Yeah, I don't know. It is rough having like twins before because I never had to have just like 2 kids.
Yeah. You went from 1 to 3.
Yeah.
That's insane. You guys literally, you never got to. You ran double team, and then you didn't even get to man on man. You just went straight to zone coverage.
That is so funny.
That's all. Yeah, you were double teaming that one kid, and then they didn't give you a break. They were like, just blast them.
Yeah, speaking of kids, my kids are out there, so if it could be heard up in the recording, sorry.
Yeah. Get fucking used to it. It's part of having kids.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't like it? Shut
This
up.
is what it is.
Yeah.
So you had a kid, what, 6 months ago now?
Dude, he's 9 months now. 9 months.
Wow.
Yeah, it's coming up quick. May 25th.
That's his
May
birthday?
25th. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yep. Nope, 26th.
26th.
It's the 26th. It's the day. So May 25th is the anniversary of my wife and I starting dating.
Oh, wow.
Our first date was May 25th, and then he was born the 26th.
Wow, that's pretty.
So
It's so close though. It could have been like something special. You know?
Yeah. It would. It is funny how time like stuff like that works. Like my daughter was born on 12/13/14.
My brother was born 9/9/09.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
That's really crazy.
Yeah. Shoot, my daughter was born at 11 a.m. on 12/13/14.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
bizarre.
But she was a C-section baby, so.
Yeah, that's kind of. She
Tumor
wasn't
baby.
supposed to. Yeah, she wasn't supposed to do that.
Yeah, tumor baby. You're supposed to do that?
No, she wasn't supposed to do that. C-section.
Oh, yeah. No,
boy,
she wouldn't turn.
Oh.
Yeah, she was breech, and oh, bro, have any of yours been breech? Have you had to? Yeah. So when they're breech, like a week or two before the birth, they try to manually turn the baby.
Yeah.
Which is insane. Have you ever seen that happen?
I have seen they go.
Yeah,
there
they're
and
literally like elbow, like fucking,
I think-
like WWE moves.
I think they tried that with like the twins, but I don't remember.
Like one of them might not have turned, it hadn't
Something
turned
like
yet.
that,
Yeah,
maybe.
and I remember watching that. It was my ex-wife, my daughter. She was breached the whole time, and dude, that looks so painful.
It looks
terrible.
wild.
And so she never flipped, and so that she had to be a C-section because you can't birth breech. Well, you can, but
It's not a good
it's
idea.
a lot more likely your kid's gonna die. So
Yeah. So you already have one kid, and she's how old?
she's 9.
She's 9.
She's 9. Yeah.
So 9 and 9 months.
9 and 9 months.
that's
That's
quite
a
a
gap.
gap.
Yeah.
That's kind of like close to my brother because I was born in 2000. My brother was born in 09. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not
That
really
is pretty close to your brother.
with him though. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. He's 14 now. I think.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'll be interested to see. So my daughter right now is like all about it. She's super motherly, like likes taking care of him, wants to help out. So I think it would be different if my first was a boy. You know, like you'd have the protectiveness of an older brother, but like you said, like I don't know if they'd be as close. Whereas I think a girl is going to be more nurturing that first few years and
big
have a little bit more of an
sister is-
attachment.
Yeah, I don't know. It's different than like a big brother. You know?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
a big brother, like my brother, for some reason, he thinks like they were supposed to have this like rivalry because like I was just like, hey, we don't have to not like each other just because we're brothers. You know, he's just like,
Yeah.
But
Well, he's
most-
also 14 though, and
yeah,
raging with testosterone and like, yeah.
yeah. But I don't know. It is kind of interesting. Though.
How old's your sister?
She's only 3 years young. She's 20.
20. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so she's younger than you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm the oldest.
Okay.
Yeah, my mom had me at 16, her at 19, my brother at like 24.
Man, get out of the way early. Look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way to go, though, I think. Because then
Yeah.
it's like you know, you just got a new baby. You're old as fuck.
Yeah. I don't know. Because I had my first one, I was 24.
Oh.
Right. So I was fairly young. I think there's pros and cons, right? Because I'm enjoying it a lot more now. The whole process, right? And I think it's nothing to do with like I hate it sounding like I'm not shitting on young people, but when you're young, you just don't have the life experience yet to be like, oh, I should enjoy this. And shit is so crazy because you're young and you got kids, and it's like, fuck, I'm stressing about bills. I got this to do. I got this to pay. I got date. You know, like all that shit, right? You got so much more stress. And then now, like, because that's how I felt with my daughter. Like, I don't remember enjoying her childhood at all, especially when she was little. And I was there when I was living there. And it's just because it was just constantly like I was on the schedule and I was just a little overwhelmed with work and everything. And now, like, I have these moments where, you know, I work from home, so I have more time in general, right? And I'll be sitting there with my kid, and it's just like, oh yeah, I gotta remember to enjoy this. Like, I'm gonna take a picture, right? I'm gonna take an extra picture. I'm gonna do the and you know, I almost I feel I already obviously feel bad because I missed a lot of my daughter's childhood because I had to move away, but I'm gonna make that up to her when we get back. But
So,
it's like
does that
also
affect you? Like every day? Does that something like you think about every day, or is it kind of like something that really gets bad? Like some
yeah,
days.
I wouldn't say it makes me sad every day, because that's a thing that happens, right? But I definitely think about her every day. We talk all the time, and she's got an iPad now, so she can text me with that. Um, we play Minecraft online and stuff together on Mondays and Tuesdays when I'm home with the baby and stuff like that. But it definitely, I have days where I feel like a failure. I just feel like I've failed her as a dad, and I know that's not true. I mean, I do as much as I can with the cards that I was dealt, and she knows that, and even my ex-wife knows that. My ex-wife told me for the first time like 3 weeks ago. She sent me a message, and she was like, "Hey, you know you're a great dad, right? Like, I don't think I've ever told you that, but I really appreciate all the work you put in everything you do." And I was like, "Holy shit!" Like, it almost made me cry.
Yeah, yeah.
I was like, "That's." Like, because that's a person I guess I'd never thought I'd get any validation from, and it wouldn't have even crossed my mind to want it. But
yeah.
yeah, it does mean something. You know what I mean?
It definitely does. I have this like kind of try. I just had this like bit that I'm like working on. It's just a premise right now about how like it doesn't matter like how bad of a person you are. As soon as I found out you're a good dad, that's like it's
yeah,
like,
yeah,
like
yeah.
it's
That's
like
like
I feel like a Jeep owner, but for dads. You know, like,
I kind of get what you're saying though. It's like, well, yeah, he robs banks and he
like
like
Tony Soprano, for example.
yeah, exactly. That was where my mind just
Yeah,
went.
you
My
know?
mind immediately went like mafia, right?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Like, hey, like my family is.
It's like a guy who takes care of his family. It's like I don't care what you've done. Like I
Yeah.
automatically I root for you just a little bit. You know.
Yeah, no, that's true. And you know what the sad fact of that is there's more bad dads than good dads probably. And so that's
why it
why
means something to me, because especially like me being black, there's always like stereotypes about like black dads, and sometimes I even wonder about that when I come on stage and I tell people I have 4 kids. I'm like, I am there for my kids. Like, I'm not just like a person who has kids. Like, I am there every single day. I wake up with them, put them to sleep. Like, I'm there. I read them books. So I care. But it's just there's such like a stigma and like stereotype there where it's like I feel accomplished, even though I'm just doing the bare minimum what you're supposed to do. But it's
right.
like to be a good dad is
But
important.
I think, man, I don't know. Like, this is parenting in general, right? Not dad, mom, anything, right? I think, it's like, oh, you shouldn't get credit for you should get credit for being a good parent, right? And what does being a good parent doesn't mean, oh, I spend 100% of my time with my kid. I'm a stay-at-home mom or a stay-at-home dad. Like, you know what? If you're providing for your kids and they're happy and they're healthy and they love you and you love them and you're doing a good job, I think everybody should celebrate that because it's easy to not do. Like, it's so easy to be a bad parent.
It's very easy, and it's like, for me, it's like finding a balance because like I'm doing comedy, I'm a full-time student, I work, trying to do this podcast,
Yeah,
and then still find time for the kids, and it's like right now I'm like pretty decent at it, but it's like when they get older, it's what my concern is.
Yeah,
as my career starts to pick
activities,
up with,
yeah,
they got sports that they're gonna be doing and things I gotta go to like attend and being part of the PTA or something, like stuff like that. Like it's weird for me, like being this family guy, like just like it wasn't immediate for me, like a lot of guys or a lot of people, it's like immediate, like you just jump into this like role of like being like, I don't know, like the best dad ever. For me, like I was still a good dad, but it took me a while to really take my role like super serious. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, that makes 100% sense, man. That's exactly what I was just talking about. You're young. You gotta
Yeah.
figure it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you've barely figured out. Well, none of us have really figured out being an adult. But like at 20, you're 23,
23.
23. Like you haven't even scratched this. I always tell people like the difference between me at 22 and me at 29 was insane. Like I was a completely different person, different views, different everything. Because you just go through so much change mentally and physically still in those ages, right? As a dude. But yeah, like I think that's totally normal. I think it's something that most people don't talk about enough, right? Like something that I don't think dudes talk about enough is I didn't love my kids when they were born. Like I didn't instantly have this overwhelming sensation of, oh my God, this is the most precious thing I've ever seen. I would kill people for you. You know, like I didn't feel like that.
It's not instant for guys as it is for like the mom. The mom had like the physical connection for 9 months.
Yeah.
And with us, it's like, for us, it's just an idea until it's not an idea.
Yeah.
And then like you're holding a baby one day and you're like, what the fuck? Like this came from me.
That's
like,
exactly what it was. I remember when my daughter was born. I remember like we were there, and all of a sudden I was like, oh, there's a baby now, right? And she's like laying there in the little just plastic
the
bedside
bassinet
table thing, right?
Yeah.
Because they had brought us back to the nursery, and my wife at the time was getting sewn back up, you know. And I remember, looking at her, and I was like, "Man, it was a baby, right?" And she like opened her eyes and looked at me, and I was like, "Okay." And then like I kind of put my hand in there, and she like kind of grabbed my finger, and I was just sitting there going, "Am I a sociopath? Right? Like, am I?" What's wrong with me? Like I was expecting this to be overcome with emotion, like to cry in this room, right? When my kid looked at me for the first time, and I was like, it felt like I didn't care, and I just couldn't believe. Like I felt bad about myself. Like I thought I was like, oh man, I'm fucked up. Like maybe I need more therapy than I thought. But that that wasn't it, and it took with my daughter, it took 60 days really before I had that first feeling of like, oh my God, like my breath caught in my throat, and I looked at this kid and I was like, oh, I would kill for you. You know what I mean? Like it took a minute.
Yeah, and I feel like it's common though, like because I've heard dads kind of speak about it before, that it wasn't like immediate, and for me it was like after like my twins were born, like maybe a few months after that when I was like, oh shit. I mean, it helped that I was doing mushrooms at the time.
I mean, it does help.
But then I was like looking at pictures of them, and I was like, Jesus Christ,
Mm-hmm.
like the responsibility that I have as a man, like going into the future. Not only do I have to show them a good example of like how they're supposed to be treated when it comes to like their mom, and then just so many different things that you have to do as a parent,
Yeah, it is crazy. It is crazy. Do you think it did you notice a difference? Did you feel that feeling faster with your twins, with your second? Like I got your second kid, but second and third technically. But like, did you notice a difference with how fast that feeling came with the second one?
I'd say that, yeah. I think, I don't know. Like I said, I'm young, so like I still had like the kind of young. I want to like go be with other people and stuff like that. So for me, it was like I was here, and like I would like take care of them. I wasn't like just out partying and doing stuff, but like I wasn't. I don't know. I didn't take it serious. Really,
well, I guess I was talking about that feeling of like love, that like intense. Like, did you feel like that happened faster with the second or the twins than it did with the first?
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it helps that there's two of them, because it's like, oh, this is a lot. But also, it was just like for me personally, I always wanted a daughter before I wanted a son, and then I got two, and so I was like, wow, this is something.
Yeah,
something
yeah. Careful what you wish for, huh?
Yeah, I got
Puberty's
3.
gonna be tough in this household, man.
I said me and my son are going on a road trip every single time they're on periods. They're all gonna get synced up.
You better book. Yeah, you better figure out that week and book shows the whole week. Take your son with you.
That's exactly what's gonna have to happen.
Oh man, I felt like it. I did feel like with my son, I had a pretty intense feeling in the hospital. But that was because I think with my first kid being a C-section, so Chelsea, she got induced, and then she was in labor for 27 hours, and she pushed actively for 6. It was a tough birth, right? And so like I think the emotions of that and like watching her go through that and having to get her through it, right? Because like that's a weird position to be in. You've been there, right? You know, and having to coach that, and like I see this woman who's like the strongest person I've ever met. Like my wife is gangster, and like to see her on the brink of like she was like I could tell she was ready to give up, right?
Yeah.
She was exhausted, and I was like, I had this overwhelming. I was like, fucking, I didn't know what to do. I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do, and I was like, well, I got her to keep going. I got to get her to keep going, right? And I talked her through it, and we figured it out. And so then when he finally was born, I did have like this overwhelming sensation of love, but I think it was because of what I just saw, like all that, because then I was like, oh, okay, but then like the next day it was gone. I was like, oh, it's a baby again, you know?
Yeah.
And then, but I would say it only took like 2 or 3 weeks for me to really feel that intenseness again. You know, I think so it did help, but like it, again too, like I'm older.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't know. Babies are just kind of. It's interesting because it's like this is a baby. What is it?
yeah, cool.
It's more like a doll the first like few weeks, and then it's like, oh, okay.
Well, and even like now, you know, my kid is 9 months. He's sitting up, he's rolling over, you know, he's doing all that stuff, but he's still a baby. You know, he's playing. He sits in one spot. He plays with something. He's easily distracted. You know, he's a kid, and I think that early year, you know, that first year is really where they bond more with mom, right? Because they're breastfeeding, and you know they're being held a lot more by mom and stuff like that. Whereas like once they can walk, like now I can do stuff with him, right? Like now we can play catch and we can roll the balls around and stuff like that, right? And I think that's where me, at least as a dad, like I have trouble like entertaining him. You know, when I've got him all day, it's like fuck. You know, I can only move you from this spot to that spot to that spot so many times before I want to blow my head off, right? So like I've started walking a lot more because we go on walks now and stuff because I just got to find something to do. Whereas like once he can move around,
it's definitely much easier once they can move around. But like with my kids, like they always like to like watch like Dragon Ball Z with me or something like that, or just like I'd play some music and we just have a dance party or something like that, just something to pass the time.
Dude,
but
this kid watched Cocomelon. Dude, he'll sit and watch Cocomelon. 9 months old, he'll sit and watch Cocomelon while he plays with his toys and shit. Like I swear, this is a bit I was trying to work on, but like Cocomelon is just Joe Rogan for babies. That's all it is, right? Like that's all Coco is. It's a bald white person on the TV. Telling them how to live their life, you know, like say please and thank you and eat your fucking peas, you know, like that's I'm like it's just Joe Rogan for kids. That's all it is.
Yeah, that's so funny. That's a good bit. I'm
yeah,
gonna see that one.
I'm working on how to figure it out, but
there's a lot of like tags I can see like throughout there that you can come up with.
Yeah. Like he is watching a lot of Joe Rogan for babies, but now he only wears white onesies and talks about how taints are getting smaller. So
yeah, you're gonna be like, my son likes to watch Cocomelon, or as I like to call it, Joe Rogan for
Joe
babies.
Rogan for babies. Yeah,
that's good.
Oh
man, so how long have you been doing comedy now?
I think almost 5 years.
5 years. And you started in Denver?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, started out in Denver. My first open mic set popped up again because I was a douche and I posted it online, which is so dumb.
It's
Don't do that. But also I'm happy I did it because I can see it. You know, like I can see I was trash. It was bad. But you can see the progress that you've made, you know, which is kind of cool to look on. And also, one of the bits that I did on my first open mic set is one of my best bits now. I had no idea that I did it in that set.
It is kind of crazy how that works. I have like old bits where I like will bring it out. I'm like, now I know what to do with this bit. You know, like I didn't know what I was doing before.
Yeah.
I just had words.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, I can handle this bit a little bit better.
Yeah, I got so many of those that I got to pull back out that I started in Denver and then I never finished because I didn't, you know, I wasn't good enough to writing wise to figure it out. And now I look at it and I'm like, oh, I've got an idea for that. And yeah, so the problem is now I can't get out to mics as much. so I'm only out on Wednesdays, and so
Yeah.
like that has brought a new challenge because I can't. I used to work so much new material. I worked new material every week for years, and now it's like, well, I can work something out on a Wednesday. So now I have to put. Whereas I used to take all those bits and do them at mics until they were ready, and I was like, okay, this is ready for a show. Now I have to take a bit that's ready for a mic and put it on a show.
Yeah.
And I have to work it out there.
It's really confidence, though. Confidence is what gets through those things.
Oh, confidence for sure, but like if it's not right, they're not gonna, even if you're confident, they're not necessarily going to laugh.
That's fair.
But what that does now is it just gives you something else to work on, because now, like, I tried a new bit last month on a show, and it didn't go great. Right, I was doing well. I lost the crowd, and then I got him back, and I was like, oh. But that's another exercise in itself. Like, can I get the crowd back after losing them?
I feel like some people also are like afraid to do like a new bit on a show.
For sure.
I don't feel like you should be. Like, I feel like if you just trust yourself, even if it doesn't work, if you trust yourself to be like, all right, the rest of the stuff will stand.
Yeah, I think that's the key, right? Is you can't. I wouldn't say do half of your set being new stuff, right?
No.
Like, you gotta be strategic about it and sandwich it between two good bits, so you know that you've got to transition into something better. Like 100%, I think you're right on that. But I think it also depends on the show. You know what I mean? Like, there's certain shows that there's no way I'd try new stuff on, because I'm, either trying to network or
It also depends on how hot the crowd is. Because, like, sometimes at the back line, like, there'll be, like, a really hot crowd. And I'm like, oh, you guys like some of this stuff. I just had this idea that I was floating around earlier today. Let's throw it out and see if you guys like it. Like, we're just having fun at this point.
For sure.
You got to hit up Down Under sometime.
I do need to. I've meant to try to do that, and I always space it, and I forget how far ahead you have to book it.
Yeah, about a couple weeks.
Yeah, so I need to start doing that. That would be
if Wednesdays are your only day, that's perfect. You need to do 4 minutes at backline, 15 at Down Under.
Yeah, I need to start doing that. And then what I'm doing is every other week. Well, I'm not hitting the 2 on Thursday this week, because I'm going to go to the Clash tomorrow with No Way hosting. I just wanted to show up and support. But typically on the days, so every other week, Chelsea works Thursday or Friday. So when she has Thursdays off, I'm going to try to start going to Beach House and laugh breaks. And I did that 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I do it every so often. It's hard, though, because there's nobody to, like, work it out to. So it's really just getting on stage for yourself.
Yeah.
And, like, that's fine, but sometimes I'm like, I really need the energy of the crowd to, like, kind of motivate me to get through this.
So it's funny you said that, because I was having that issue for a while, especially when Emmett's was first getting off the ground. And what I noticed is that for me, I have to have good energy. Like, my jokes, like the way I write, like if I tell my stuff monotone, if I were to tell my jokes like I'm talking to you, like, they wouldn't do well.
No.
And I noticed that anytime I had a show that didn't go well, if I rewatched it, my energy wasn't there. And typically the shows that didn't go well were smaller shows I wasn't motivated to be on. There's only 6 people in the crowd, stuff like that. And then, I started realizing, I can't remember where I heard it. You hear it everywhere, right? Like, you got to bring it every set. Doesn't matter who's in the crowd. They're there to watch you. And so then I was like, okay, now let's use those mics where there's nobody there to try to prove to myself that I can still be me.
Yeah, that's what I did last night at Emmett's. There was, like, we mostly just did, like, a workshop.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't even, like, for the most part, we didn't go on stage. But then at the end, Carter was like, I want to go on stage. And I was like, well, fuck it, I'm going to go on stage, too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if Carter's going to do it, I'm going to do it. Like, even if I just got to do it just to say the things, there's not even an audience. It's just comics here.
Right.
It's like, I just got to do it, Sometimes you just push yourself, and sometimes it's rewarding, You're
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, maybe if I slow this part down, like, you get to think a little bit more when there's not, like, an expectation for, like, a bunch of laughs, because, like, I know you guys aren't gonna laugh at this stuff.
Yeah, and I think that's what those mics are for, is like pacing, timing, like switching words around, right, to see, hey, does this flow out of my mouth better? Like, there was a bit I used to do that the punchline was funny, but there was a lot of the same letter in all the words, and so it was hard for me to get it out, like, without stumbling over them.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I was like, I found the right way to say it on one of those shitty mics because I didn't care.
Yeah, it's hard
And-
not to get married to ideas, though. You know,
No, it's so hard.
it's so hard. It's,
so hard.
it's like, oh, I like this. I like the way
Mhm.
that this is, but it's like maybe that's not the best way to do it. You know?
Oh yeah, yeah, that happens a lot. Yeah, where it's just, and I think the other problem is sometimes is like when you're writing, right? Like you've got an angle in your head that you want to write on, and even when you like, I'll sit there and I'll go, this isn't the right angle, but I can't think of anything else.
It's hard to get out of like your own perspective.
Mhm.
You know?
Yeah,
Because like that's where like a lot of the best jokes are. It's like attacked from different perspectives.
yeah.
But sometimes it's just like, oh, this is what I find funny about it. But like you don't consider like what maybe the audience is gonna find funny about it.
Yeah,
know?
yeah. Well, and I that's why I like workshopping so much. And I know people have different opinions on that, right? Like, there's some people that want to they're like, hey, I take pride in the fact that I wrote every word, every tag, every punchline. Like, this is all mine. And I'm like, well, that's cool. Like, that's good. That's awesome. Like, that's something super great. But for me, it's like,
As long as I'm
I
saying
don't
something-
mind taking a tag. Like, I don't want anybody to write jokes for me, right? But if you got a tag idea and it's better than what I got, why would I not take that as long as it sounds good coming out of my mouth, you know? So I like workshopping because of what you just said, you know, like I'm going to get a different perspective from you and No Way and Carter than I'm going to have, because I only have how I've grown, how I've established myself and grown up, you know? It's like I can't think of it from how a Hispanic person might think about it, right? But there may be a hilarious tag that I could do from that perspective. So I love workshopping.
Yeah, I had this one bit that I brought to the workshop last night, and it just nobody liked it. It was a bit about like how I miss COVID, because the job I was working at during COVID, like they'd give you like a week off paid, like if you had to go to a funeral.
You ran this one by me.
I just started running out of grandparents to kill.
You kept just killing off grandparents.
Nobody liked that. Mara, she was just like, I hated COVID, so that bit is
Nah.
never gonna work for me. I was like, all right, I get that.
Yeah, man, it feels like it was so long ago now, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It's like 4 years since it started.
Yeah.
It was like a whole. I don't know. It just feels like a whole like period of history. You know,
It
Like,
was crazy.
It's gonna be in the history books. Is the crazy
Yeah.
thing.
I remember like just binge watching fucking Tiger King and Schitt's Creek. Oh, bro, Schitt's Creek's like one of my favorite shows.
Dude, I was working. I was doing DoorDash.
Yeah.
All COVID. Yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah,
I was
bet.
outside.
I bet you were hustling
I
too.
was making good money too.
Yeah.
Like my
Especially at
son was
that point.
born in June of 2020, so like right in the midst of COVID in summer. So I was like, all right, well, DoorDash.
Yeah.
And I had a decent job that I started at the beginning of that year. I was working for like a crane manufacturing company, and then I got laid off in like August right after I bought my Cadillac.
Of course. Dude, you saying that your kid was born in the middle of COVID? I just heard a dude on Pandora. He had a bit about that, about how his kid was born right after the pandemic started. He's like, one of the main things that I didn't realize I was going to have to worry about is like, will my child understand that other people have skin? Because all he's seen is mom and dad. Everybody else has been on a screen on Zoom, right? He's like, is he gonna understand other people? I was like, that's funny.
That is funny. I'm glad that it didn't last.
Oh god.
Like as long as it like could have potentially, because we could
Yeah.
still be like
Yo,
masked. You could possibly be like not even be able to come over. You
that
know?
whole
Like,
thing was so crazy. Like that whole period of time.
I'm glad
Just
it's
like-
over, but it's not over at the same time. You know, because there's still people that are like really like COVID's not over. and,
Oh,
you
yeah,
know, I see
there's-
people with a mask occasionally, and I'm just like,
Yeah,
all right.
and that's fine. I don't care. My whole point. You know what? I don't want to debate it. I don't want to.
Yeah,
I don't want to get into it.
it's
It's
a
fine.
pro- it's
I don't
fine.
care. Wear your mask. That's super cool. I'm glad you feel safer. And maybe you are. And maybe they're. And anytime I see people with a mask in public too, you never like they might be wearing it because they're sick.
Yeah.
And they're literally trying to just not spread something to other people, which I totally respect that, right?
My thing is, don't force other people.
Yeah,
to try to,
I get. Oh man, I don't do well with being told what to do anyway. And my wife knows. Like, like I'll be getting ready to do something, right? Like take out the trash, and then she'll be like, "Can you take out the trash?" And I'll be like, "Not anymore. I don't want to anymore. I don't know what it is. I don't know why I'm that. I don't know why I'm
I
that
have
way."
Same exact thing. We're just like,
Dude.
you tell me to do something or not to do something. It's like, all right.
Yeah, I'm gonna
fucking
do
watch.
that. Yeah. Oh, don't push the button. I'm gonna push the fucking button. Are you crazy? Like I'm gonna find out. Or This is another fucking terrible character trait of mine. Is that on that same line? If somebody's like too excited about something they like a TV show or a movie, I'm just like not gonna watch it, dude. Bro,
Nobody ever does. It's like you get somebody gives a suggestion, you're like, all right, I'll check it out. Never check it out.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, now I'm doing, but dude, I've missed so many fucking awesome things, dude. I didn't watch Game of Thrones for like 2 years after it came out, and then I started watching it. And I'm like, God, I'm fucking stupid. I was like, why am I like this? I'm pretty sure the first Avengers movie I didn't watch for like the longest time too, and that was amazing. And I was just like, why am I do that? Why do I do that to myself?
I don't know. It's kind of just like
It's people who I respect their opinions too. It's not like some dude on the street. You know what I mean? It's like a friend of mine. It's like, dude, you would love this show, and I'm like, won't watch it. I hate that you thought I'd like that. I'm not gonna watch it now.
Yeah, I don't know. I sometimes wonder, like, hopefully my kids don't have. They have a little bit of like me. Like, there's a lot of like me in them, and I'm just like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have known how to like tell my parents how to parent me.
Right.
Because I just like I wasn't a bad kid by any means, but like if there was something I wanted to do, I was gonna do it regardless.
Well, you know what? That's funny you bring that up because I was talking to my daughter's mom and just about parenting stuff. We've gotten pretty good at co-parenting, and she'll let me know if there's something going wrong, and I'll address it, while we're playing Minecraft or something. And I see a lot of myself in my daughter. And I see a lot of my negative traits, right? Like that I'm coming to terms with now. I'm doing therapy, and I'm like, oh, I do that. Like, oh, I overreact in these ways. Like, this is what I do. And so then I'll see my daughter do it, and I'm like, oh, no, But also, I think there's a benefit to that because I understand the thought process behind the actions because it's me. We're the same person. So, when she gets upset, like perfect example, my daughter's mom will ask her to like clean something, right? And then an hour later she'll be like, "Oh, hey, did you get that cleaned?" And my daughter will get super mad. And she's like, "No, it's not clean yet." And she'll get like upset and she'll yell. And that was something that we were talking about. And I was like, yeah, but she's not mad because you asked her again. She's embarrassed and mad at herself because she forgot to do what you asked, and she doesn't know how to express that. So it comes out as anger. I was like, because that's me. Like when my wife asks me for the third time to do something, she's like, hey, did this get done? And it's not done. Sometimes I'll snip at her. I'll get upset. I'll like bitch at her for nagging at me. But that reaction is because I'm ashamed that I didn't get it done. It's not because I'm mad. I'm not. The reaction isn't because I'm mad at her for asking.
Right,
and
yeah.
The reaction is because I didn't do it, and I'm mad at myself.
But that's really self-aware, though. Like,
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to get to, And so when I see my daughter do these things, I'm like, oh, at least I can have a conversation with her. Like, I understand what you're feeling right now, And I think, if your boys and your boy and your girls do have some of that in them, of things that like sometimes that can help with dialogue. It's easier to talk to them about it because you do understand.
Yeah, there's like things that like I definitely understand. I'm like, all right, I can sit down and like, hey, I understand you might feel this way. But then there's some things where I'm just like, I don't even know what to do with you kids. Like,
well, it's hard. I mean, your kids too. Like, I'm talking about my 9-year-old.
Yeah,
right.
That's
like,
fair,
so it's a lot different when they're that little because some of that is they just don't know any better, right? Like they're acting like they're acting because they're a child.
Yeah.
But then as once they hit like 6, 7, 8, and they're starting to develop personalities and stuff like that, and they've been around you long enough to pick up some of your traits.
That's what I'm afraid of. My son, he's like, I'm not a rude person, but I like jokingly am rude like, all the time. And my son, I think he's just rude. Like most of the time he's joking, but sometimes it's just like, geez, dude,
that was mean.
Why'd you say that?
Yeah, and I'll be interested to see, like, I know some people, they don't like swearing around their kids and stuff like that. And me, like, I've never censored myself around my daughter. I've motherfucked in front of her since day one. And there's always been this expectation of, like, she knows what dad's language is. She knows what she's allowed to say. And my daughter is sweet, She's caring. I've never heard her swear. Even when she's mad, stubs her toe, gets hurt. Like, is just this beautiful person. You know what I mean? Like, being raised by me, I'm a fucking oaf. You know, like I swear like a sailor, and that's just who I am. Like, that's how I talk. Like, I don't swear because I think it's cool. I grew up in a blue collar household, and
It's just
just fuck is just another word.
It's not even like, I don't even view the words as curse words. Like, I know that they are, but it's not the way I see it. It's not like this is a bad word. It's just like, all right, this is the way I'm speaking.
This
like,
is how I communicate.
like me and my girlfriend, like we'll jokingly call each other bitch sometimes.
Yeah,
but sometimes I don't realize that like other people
might misconstrue.
Yeah, so like when we're in public, I'll be like, bitch.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, oh.
Oh yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, they're gonna think.
Oh. Yeah. No, I get it. And so, but I'll be interested to see about my son, right? Is there a difference with a boy, right? Because I don't plan on doing it with him either. Like, I'm not gonna censor myself now.
My son, he knows like words he's not supposed to say. He'll call me out sometimes, but like I'm just like, hey, I'm an adult. You know, I can say that. You know, you can't.
Yeah.
So he doesn't do it, and like he'll ask if he can do it. He'll like, can I say a bad word?
Can I say a bad word?
And then like, even when you tell him yes, he'll like still like not want to say it. But then he'll like his favorite cuss word is shit. So he's like, can I say the shit word? I'm like, yeah, go for it. I
Dude,
guess if you have to.
There was a TikTok I saw the other day where a mom took he must have been 4 or 5, her little boy, and stood him up on the counter in the bathroom facing the mirror, and she had her phone set up recording, and she was like, okay, I'm gonna leave the room, and you can say any swear words you want into the mirror. And she's like, and then when I come back, you gotta stop. And he was like, okay. And then she walked out, and he's just like looking like this. He just goes, frick. And he didn't say any other word. That was the only one he said. He said it like 17 times, and he would like make a face and say it. Dude, it was so funny. It was like wholesome too, because I was like, that's not even a swear word. Like, I was expecting something crazy, right?
I like videos like that. Those videos like that is like, that's what my algorithm should be.
Dude,
but I don't watch TikTok.
Dude, my algorithm is fucking crazy. So much random bullshit. Not as bad as Noe's. Noe's is ridiculous.
You see Carter's?
Oh yeah, Carter's is crazy too.
Crazy. He's got some interesting stuff.
Dude, Carter, that guy. I'll wake up and he'll ruin my morning some days. Like, he sends me the wildest videos. Like, I'll wake up and like, I didn't need to see that at fucking 7 o'clock in the morning, you know? Like, that dude's dead for sure. Like, awesome. Yeah. And then mine is like everything from, dude, I get like Suits, like the TV show. I get TV show clips all the time. And but then like random kid videos, random getting hurt videos, random shit. It's just a wide variety. I finally got all the fucking stupid bitches off my TikTok. Yeah, it's probably unpopular opinion, but you just get so annoyed with just all the random, like, it's just nothing but thirst traps and dances. I was like,
it's not necessary.
Yeah, I just like, don't care.
Especially when you're like married, you're like,
if I want to watch porn, I'll watch porn.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't like.
So I stay off of Twitter. Twitter is rough.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's just like, if I want to see that, I'll go find it. I don't need to fucking scroll for it. Like, I just want to be entertained. Most of the time, I just want to laugh. However, I was impressed with that the new STEM one that they have on there. The science one is kind of fun. It's kind of fun to fuck around on every once in a while.
Hell yeah. For me, I was trying to work on this bit about like how like a lot of dads, they have like World War II documentaries. Like, do you watch war documentary? Because for me, my thing is body cam footage. Like, I like to watch police officers do their job.
So that's funny. Me and my wife, our guilty one is Cops. We watch Cops, Live PD, and the new one, Court Cam. Court Cam is fucking great, bro. Yeah, that's my guilty one.
I like to watch those, and I like to watch like videos of predators getting caught.
Oh, those are
Those
fun.
those are my
Those
like.
are fun.
I started off with obviously Chris Hansen, but then there's
Yeah.
like these like guys that do
The
it
guys
for-
that just hunt people down. They're like making
There's a guy
fake
that looks
profiles.
like you from Texas, like just like this
Nah.
big like bald dude. He
They
just-
got in trouble.
I don't know. No, he
Oh, he doesn't. He was like he was a pedophile, bro. So I'm
no,
not,
there's literally
just
a, there's
saying,
literally a
like-
pic- there's literally a picture of like him next to the pedophile. He said we caught one. And people are like, you got to be more specific. Like, is it like, you or
we caught one. Was the pedophile black? Because that would have made it real confusing. If
Oh,
he's
man.
we caught one. What did you catch and why? That's what we need to know first. We need a little context to this picture before we tell you congratulations. Everybody jumps on. They're like, yeah, they're just cheering on racism. They're like, oh, I thought it was a pedophile. Shit.
that or like you ever watch dash cam footage?
Yeah, that's
That-
fun.
that's always-
Angry
I like it.
Karen videos.
I got into that for a little bit, but then I was like, this is just negativity. Like I
Dude.
don't need.
Oh yeah, dude. Sometimes I have to watch myself because I'll put myself in a negative mood, and I'm like, I did this to myself. Fuck. But today I saw a crazy. It was a crazy HOA meetings. Yo.
Fuck, I can
That
imagine.
one gets crazy too.
I can imagine. That
Yeah.
would be insane. I think. Let's see. I talked about dash cams, body cams. There was something else that I like to watch. Oh, I get way too high and I watch car crash videos. Now I'm afraid to drive. I have like a fear of driving at night. And I'm just like, people are dumb. Like I'm just out here driving and people could just do anything.
Dude, I think about that sometimes. When I'm driving, and I'm just like, all these other people are just doing exactly what I'm doing.
And some of them
Not
are doing
paying
extra
attention.
stuff.
Fucking, fucking, yeah. And I'm just like, wow. You know, it is kind of funny to when you're sitting on the interstate. It's like this is a high thought when you're sitting on the interstate and there's just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cars around you, right? And you're like, I'm living this moment in my life right now, but all these other people are living this moment in their life. And that trips me out sometimes. I'm like the fact that like they don't even know I'm right next to them thinking about them. You know what I mean? Like they're in their own world dealing with their own bullshit. It's crazy. You know, I don't know. It's crazy to me sometimes.
I think about that too. I think about, especially like today I had off and like dropped my kids off at daycare, and then it's like we drop them off around a little bit before 9, and I'm just thinking like some people are like just starting work. Some people are like going on their break because they've been working since 6 in the morning. Like, you know, I think about that. Like everybody's got their own like timeline, their own like thing that they do during their day. Like some people go to bed at 7 o'clock. Some people go to bed at 1 in the morning. Like it's everybody's living different lives, different like timelines. Not everything is the same. I was thinking about that today. I was really high.
I go, well, it is a high thought, but that's exactly when I have those types of thoughts too. And you're just like, holy shit, like the world is crazy.
It is. It's like we're so insignificant to like everything that's going on, you know?
Yeah. But like, I don't know. Like, it's interesting. Like we're insignificant, but we're the most important thing in some people's story.
That is true.
Like,
it's like you're a big cog in a machine, but also in the grand scheme of thing, you're not.
Yeah.
Because like if you weren't here anymore, if you passed for some reason, that's going to affect so many people.
Right. But also nothing at the
Nothing
same
at all,
time.
you know?
Yeah. No, it is an interesting thing to think about. You know, like legacy, like, you know, what do you want to leave behind and that kind of stuff. Dude, that, and like I'm not that old, but I'm 35, you know? And so like you start to think about like that kind of stuff, and it's like, well, what have I really done with my life, and where am I going? And you know, and that can get the better of you if you're not careful. Like it almost has with me before.
That's how they get into the midlife crisis at your age.
Yeah, well, that's what it is. It's like, well, and I think a lot of those people is like people that have been married for fucking 30 years. They were high school sweethearts. They never did anything. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think I'll ever have like a midlife crisis just because I've done so much shit already in my life, right? Like between fighting and I don't know if you like, I used to ski with a professional water ski team.
Really?
I've done all this stuff. I did the whole getting drunk thing. I was single. I had sex with people. Like, yeah, I did all that stuff that I think a lot of people, when they hit that midlife crisis, they got married out of high school or real early, and they were and then they're like, well, I missed out on all this stuff. Like, I want to do that. I don't think I'll necessarily hit that as much as I'll hit, am I where I want to be? Am I doing things that I'm going to be proud of? And that kind of stuff, I think, is what's going to get to me. But I think the answer right now is yeah. Like if I keep going the way that I'm going, I think I will be proud of whatever I finish with.
I think for me, the midlife crisis is coming unless I'm like satisfied with comedy. With where I am with comedy, I think if that's what I'm still doing in, I don't know, 20 years.
Mhm.
I hope so, but obviously anything can happen.
Dude, anything can happen.
Anything
20
happen,
years
I
is
could
a long time.
decide to focus on family.
Yeah, you could lose your voice. You know what I mean? Like,
Man, I think about that sometimes. Like, what if I go deaf?
dude, imagine being a mute stand-up comedian.
There has to be some.
So there's a guy in Denver, Cal Sheridan. Cal Sheridan is his name. And I think he's got cerebral palsy. He's got a muscular disorder that has gotten bad enough to where he's in a wheelchair and he can't speak very well. It's very hard for him to talk. And what he does is, and he's kind of like, he has trouble controlling some of his limbs and stuff. And so what he does is he writes his jokes and he writes his set. And then he has somebody read it on stage for him, and he's on stage, and then he's doing the act outs and the facial expressions as they're reading it, and it's funny. Like it's different, but it's really funny.
Have you heard of this dude named Aaron Belial? He's a guy. He was on like Kill Tony. He also has like some type of muscle thing, but he can't like speak. So he just like has like text out his jokes.
Right.
He's like really funny and like a good joke writer. But I like that. I like finding people finding a way to do stand up.
Yeah. Do you know Zach Meacham from over in Des Moines?
Yeah. I don't know him, but I've like seen him.
Yeah. So I was on a show with him. I was at the Glory Hole with him over at Teehees, and he has, I can't remember what he has, but he has a disorder where he has to use like a handheld CPAP machine to breathe, and so he has like a mouthpiece that he puts up to his mouth so he can take a breath, right? It's a positive pressure, so it pushes air in. And then he says his jokes, and so his jokes are timed with his breaths. And it's really interesting. I'd never seen anything like that. I said, my wife's a respiratory therapist, so I was like, yo, this guy had this thing. She was like, knew exactly what it was and everything. I was like, oh, sweet. And he's also super funny. And it's interesting to see how people overcome stuff like that, you know? Like, I'm deaf in my right ear, right? Which was something I got bullied for relentlessly in school. But it's like, I had to overcome so much just with something like that. I can't imagine, having real problems to have to overcome like that.
It's like you gotta be really strong and have a good support system.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So, yeah, but I love seeing stuff like that too.
It is cool just watching it's not even like the impossible, but it just seems like it would be like a thing where people wouldn't want to do that. Like to even have the motivation to like want to make people laugh, for example, when you're in this like fucked up situation, it's like those are the people that have stories. Those are the people that are interesting.
Yeah.
You want to hear like their experience. There's a lot of people that it's like, why would I care about what you're talking about?
Yeah. Well, comedy comes from pain. You know what I mean? Like a lot of times, relatability. A shared feeling of something, and that's the reason being relatable is so key. And with somebody like that, you can't relate to them on their level, but
you can sympathize.
But you get it, right? Like they're making the same types of jokes about stuff you have issues with too. They just have stronger issues with them, and so it is fun to watch that happen. Chris Porter has a thing about that in one of his specials, I think, where he talks about like the best stories, like you and your buddies don't get around and talk about stories of you winning, right? If you and your buddies get together, if you get too excited, they're gonna bring up some shit you didn't want to remember. Because like, oh yeah, remember that time you got your dick stuck in a gas can? It's like he's like, should I tell your boss about that? Yeah, that's what it is. He goes, you got a guy that comes in, and buddy comes in, and he's like, oh man, I got a raise, I got a beautiful wife, I'm buying a new boat, blah blah blah. And he's like, we're gonna cut you down real quick, because like nobody wants to celebrate that. Like, fucking be miserable with the rest of us.
Like Lavetti's post. Did you see Lavetti's post earlier? He was talking about like one of his friends, I guess, was not celebrating his accomplishment. I don't know. It's not important.
Oh, I know the backstory on that. And I gotta agree with him on it, actually, if I'm being honest. But I saw your post. I saw because I read all the comments on it too, because I was like, oh, here we go. Let's see what it is. But I think that's so that brings up like an interesting thing, right? Is posting and marketing and all that kind of stuff. And you know, Lavetti posts a lot, right? He posts a lot, but he shares a lot of shit. He shares a lot of people's
He
stuff.
shares my
right?
podcast every week.
He just shared my fucking show that I just created the event for it today, and he shared it, right?
Yeah.
Like, and especially when you're sharing like your own shows and stuff, right? Like, you know, you get people that are like, "Oh, you're just trying to flex on everybody. Oh, you're trying to brag that you're doing this," and it's like that's just. Do some people do that? Yes, but I think another part of it is people want bookers to see you're busy. They want to see that you're promoting shows, right? Like bookers want to book people that promote. And so, you know, if you're not consistently posting and being like, "Oh, hey, I've got this show, I've got these shows. Oh, thanks for bringing me on this show and posting a picture." Like to me, you're doing yourself a disservice because now when people come on your page to look at you to see if they're going to book you, like, hey, you know, let's say you referred me to somebody, so they hop on my Facebook profile page to see if I got any clips or anything, and all they see is pictures of my kid and nothing about comedy, you know, or one show. I post about one show a month. In their head, does that make them think, he's not really working? Like maybe he's not that funny, right? Maybe I won't reach out to him for a clip. I don't know that's the case, right? But that's how I think about it.
Yeah, I agree. Sometimes I think about that because I feel bad because like sometimes I'm like, I don't want to like post every single thing. Like there's times where I'm like really busy and I'm like, most of these people aren't gonna come out anyways, you know. So like I'll post it, but I'm not gonna post it like multiple times.
Mm-hmm. No, I get what you're saying.
I might post it on my story, post it on my page, but it's hard to constantly be running this like self promotion thing, and then like I don't want to annoy people, and
yeah,
but you kind of have to do it,
Yeah, and it because I get what you're saying is you don't want to wear your audience out, right? And you're right. Most of the people that are on our Facebook feed are not going to come to our shows no matter how much advertising we do. But I do think that I understand that, you know, bumping the algorithm up and getting it out in front of more people, maybe some people will show up because it was a public post and they saw it. Like there's always that chance. But to me, it is just about building that like, hey, I'm trying to prove that I'm professional. I'm working consistently. I'm marketing consistently. I'm thanking people for booking me consistently. And I guess if that's and I don't think I probably do it enough, right? I do post usually after most shows if I post the picture of the crowd and I thank whoever it was for booking me. And I know that's viewed. By some people in this scene as, oh, he's trying to rub it in people's face, or like I know that's being said. Not necessarily but I know that it happens, right? And that's fine. If that's what they want to think, I don't mind. It is what it is, but for me that's not. And I don't probably post enough because I worry about that same thing. And I feel bad talking about Lavetti like sharing stuff. We were talking about this the other day. I don't share much of anybody else's stuff, right? Like, I think I can count. I can tell you other people's personal things that I've shared, right? I don't share a lot of Noe stuff, Rachel, anybody's. I reshared Cameron's post about his special. I reshared Zach's post about his special, right? If it's something super special to somebody I know, I'll share that. But
shows, it's different. Like Lavetti, I give him props for that. He'll share like a random show that might not even be good, and it's like clearly whatever he's doing is working. He's booked. He's in different states all the time. He's doing.
He's
stuff.
working.
Like,
he's working, man.
He's working. That guy, Like, what are you gonna do?
But and that's where we have a little bit different philosophy, and it's a little bit more in line with yours. I don't share a lot of other people's stuff because I don't want to wear the audience out, right? Like if I'm posting every day, for me, I feel like when I'm scrolling, I don't read every post I see.
Don't like every post.
When I catch something will catch my eye, I'll be like, oh, and I'll scroll back to it, right? So if I'm constantly posting show posts for other people, is the post I want people to see going to get seen, right? Which is why I don't probably post so much marketing stuff for myself as I should, because I'm like, well, I want to post the stuff that I want people to come to, or that I'm hoping, hey, bookers see that I'm working. But that's why I don't share a lot of other people's stuff, is because I'm worried about wearing my audience out, right? And he doesn't really have that same philosophy. He's like, well, I think I'm going to blast as much out as I can. It's just two different ideas. I don't know which is right. I could be 100% wrong.
Yeah. But I don't know. It's
social
like,
media is fucking weird.
That's what I'm also worried about, like with this podcast. It's like obviously I want to promote it and like get it out there, but at the same time, it's like I want to get people to come see me live, do stand up. Like
yeah. I think you know what I think the podcast. I think the perfect TikTok is the perfect place for podcast stuff.
I think clips.
Clips of it, and then posting where you can go subscribe, watch the whole thing. If you want to watch it, like that's probably going to get you more traction faster than if you were like going to share it constantly on Facebook. I think you for sure share every episode on Facebook, right?
Yeah.
You share, hey, it's up and ready to go. But I think TikTok is like the perfect platform to like try to get people hooked in.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna have to do. Just like do the shorts, do the TikTok clips. But it's like I like to keep these like under like an hour, just so it is a little bit like more bite size and like a Rogan podcast, But
yeah. With Rogan podcasts or any podcasts that are long, I have to listen to them in chunks,
Yeah, definitely. I've listened to a 4-hour episode like over the course of like a few days.
Yeah, for
I've
sure.
done that, for sure.
I listen a lot. A lot of my podcast listening is in the car, so
yeah.
And now I don't commute to work. So like I'm only listening to podcasts if I'm on a really long drive, because a lot of times when I'm driving to a show, dude, this is gonna sound so stupid. I'm such a nerd. I pretty much only listen to Pandora comedy. If I'm in my car, I'm listening to bits. I just throw on Pandora because it cycles through bits, and I don't know why. A lot of times I'm not even listening to it, but
it is background noise, and it is kind of...
Yeah, and listening to it, I feel like listening to stand-up...
Put you in the mode?
Yeah, because I'll be driving, listening to stand-up, and then I'll think of a tag for a joke I have that doesn't even have anything to do with the joke that's happening.
It's just
but it's
just
of the comedy. It gets my brain working.
It's in the zeitgeist, in the atmosphere.
Yeah,
That's what I like when I'm riding the backline. Sometimes I'm like, part of the time I listen to music, and then like if I have like a show and I'm like kind of nervous about it, I'll put on like a Patrice O'Neal or like I have go-to like albums or like specials that I like return to. Like I return to The Domino Effect by Ali Sadiq constantly. Skanks for the Memories. Love that. Love that one.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're just a little bit over an hour. So
sweet.
Cut it short.
Dude, this was fun.
It was fun. Comfortable?
Time. Yeah, dude, I'm comfortable as fuck.
All right, hell yeah.
I am a comfy bitch, bro.
All right, guys.
Thanks. Yeah, dude, that was fun.